Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the UKV. We'll have a look at the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the Ensembles, looking at the longer range as well, as we are going into a very unsettled and initially quite cold pattern over the next few days. Yes, northerly winds are arriving. We've been banging on about them quite a lot in the last few videos, but yes, within the next 24 hours northerly winds will be arriving, bringing much colder conditions and more unsettled weather generally, and that's going to be the theme over the next week or two. Up to around day 10 looking like that westerly unsettled flow will continue. Beyond that, we're perhaps seeing a signal for more amplification in the jet stream potentially. Nothing too crazy, but it could mean both warmer, maybe more settled weather, but also even more unsettled and cold weather from the north as well, with the jet stream waving a little bit more. But from around day 5 to day 10, it looks pretty much a flat jet stream with the most unsettled, cooler weather in the north, but still widely would be around average to below average in terms of temperatures, and very unsettled in general. So, do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, you may have noticed we are starting with the UKV today. Normally we do have a look at the live radar and the various weather warnings. However, I am pre-recording this by around 12 hours or so there's no real point looking at the live radar, as it is out of date really by the time you're watching this. So we'll skip that today and start on the UKV and have a look at the various other long-range models. And you can see this afternoon, a few showers around at the moment. Again, nothing too crazy in terms of intensity, but still a few widespread showers after that heavy rain in the southeast slowly cleared overnight. Now, those showers will dissipate over the course of this evening, and we will see dry weather generally. But you can see that thicker cloud and some patchy rain pushing into the north, and that is the initial signs of the colder air that is starting to appear from the north. Now, initially, there's actually a bump of warmer air, a little wedge of warmer air. That's why it's much thicker cloud and sort of drizzly rain, because it actually is both a warm front initially. So we will see those typical warm front conditions, slightly humid, sticky feel with a lot of drizzle around, thicker cloud. But you can see eventually the clearer cold front, where you've got much drier air behind it and a lot more clearer skies. You can see, yes, there are clouds and there's convection and showers behind it, but it's much fresher, clearer sort of air mass. And that weather front will slowly progress southwards over the course of Sunday afternoon and clear southern England most likely through the early hours of Monday, leaving a rash of moderate intensity showers around. Some of these may fall snow over the higher ground of Scotland, a bit of a wintry nature to that, but elsewhere it will most likely be rain. Again, the dew points are touching on freezing in a few points, but which are conductive of snow, but the surface temperatures widely in the daytime be into the low teens, which is way too warm really for any wintry precipitation. But as we head through to Monday afternoon, it will be a cold afternoon. A lot of showers around, especially on northern and eastern coasts, again with convection really firing off. Because remember, sea surface temperatures are almost 20 degrees warmer than the upper air temperatures here. So that temperature contrast is forming a lot of heavy showers, very similar to when we see something like the beast from the east, or a real thick northerly wind, where the upper air temperature is around 20 to maybe even 30 degrees colder than the surface conditions. So we are going to see a lot of convection with this. This is very cold air mass for this time of year, especially given the sea surface temperatures which are still in the high teens, touching potentially even on 20 degrees. But eventually those showers do fade, and overnight Tuesday, that's going to be our coldest night widely, I suspect, with a lot of clear skies around, and some areas even in southern England can get below 5 degrees, close to freezing perhaps in a few sheltered areas before Tuesday afternoon. Eventually some more milder air pushes in with a lot of moderate precipitation, a little bit gloomy there, before eventually we just go into more of a westerly theme with, yes, some sunnier, drier spells here or there, but plenty of showers and a strong westerly flow. Now, if you have a look at the upper air temperatures, you'll be able to see that cold front moving through eventually. You can see we're actually in a chilly air mass tonight. That's why temperatures could still drop quite low, but around 1 or 2 degrees ANDRIFT THPA locally, maybe lower than that. But we see that wedge of much milder air, maybe 8 or 9 degrees ANDRIFT THPA pushing through, but the much colder air floods in behind it and spreads through all areas through Monday afternoon, lingering through early hours of Tuesday, eventually getting pulled away by Tuesday evening from the far east. But could be dropping down to as low as -4 or -5 at 850 HPA in Scotland. Scotland, and as low as -1 or -2, even into southern England. Incredibly cold for this time of year. A good 5 to 10 degrees below average quite widely, for eventually clearing over the more Atlantic air mass with upper air temperatures in around the low to mid single digits, much more conductive of temperatures this time of year. Another thing to have a look at is the dew points, which just shows us how cold that air mass is. You can see through Monday evening. Look how cold that air mass is. Widely mid to low single digits, even touching on freezing in some areas, maybe 1 or 2 degrees towards London. That far south in the late September, that is a cold air mass, a cold, dry, proper Arctic air mass. And as soon as that milder Atlantic air pulls in, it's more back up to around 10 or 11 degrees, maybe even 15 degrees comes in later next week. So yeah, looking very chilly before turning more milder and unsettled from the west, but those upper air temperatures are not anything exceptional. So wherever we have those showers, although the upper air temperatures are trending towards average again, the surface conditions will still feel quite cold. Now, if you look at those 2 metre temperatures, you can see this afternoon temperatures peaking in around 17, maybe 18 degrees in a few spots. Again, nothing too crazy, but nothing too bad either. Further northwards, more towards the mid to low teens. Overnight tonight, still a chilly night. Widely mid to high single digits, because we still have a generally chilly upper air temperatures, but a good 2 or 3 degrees milder than what we're going to be seeing for some through Monday night and all for some on Sunday night and all on Monday night. And you get for Sunday in the day, maybe 16, 17 degrees in the south, as we're still hanging on to some milder air, at least at the surface. Further north, it's much colder, back towards mid to low teens. And through Sunday evening, those temperatures will fall away quite widely, especially in the north, down towards mid to low single digits. But in the south, still hangs on, as we still, again, have cloud around and some thicker cloud around holding those temperatures up, and some still relative warmth towards the surface. Monday, though, those temperatures don't rise really at all. You can see widely low teens, even towards southeast England, 12, 13 degrees, really chilly. Again, add on the wind chill to that, it could feel more like 9 or 10 degrees. And across Scotland, widely mid-single digits. Some areas dropping hardly above freezing, maybe 2, 3, 4 degrees over the highest ground. And even to low-lying areas, really struggling above 10 degrees. So it's going to be really quite cold in the north through Monday. And Monday night to Tuesday, look, it's going to drop really quite low still in the east. Look at that, 4, 5 degrees quite widely, especially through central areas, even lower than that in sheltered areas. Again, locally, it could be colder than these temperatures, but widely into the single digits, even mid to low single digits, even into southern England perhaps. And into Tuesday afternoon, the west starts to warm up a little bit. Parts of the Republic of Ireland, maybe 16, 17 degrees, but parts of England, especially East Anglia, Southeast England, still struggling around 12, 13 degrees. And again, the north and the higher ground struggling to the mid to high single digits, still quite chilly, for eventually Wednesday turns a bit milder. 17 or 18 degrees in the south, still chilly across northern Scotland, but widely returning to mid-teens, maybe high teens for some, as we start to recover those temperatures a little bit better. So if we now go over to the GFS and see what that is showing over the next couple of weeks, go to the 12-hour time frame, again, you can see how we are squeezing a northerly wind in over the next couple of days. Very chilly air mass move through, and after that we eventually just go a flat westerly. Real no application of jet stream coming directly in from northeast Canada, and again, low pressure generally to our north, but potentially trending southwards at times in the longer term. But that's when we could start to see some application. See 384 hours, another very cold northerly wind. Again, the upper air temperatures are really quite chilly, well below average potentially there. Look at the potential equivalent temperature, really quite cold. So it could be seeing some more potent northerly winds in the longer term. And we have a look at the temperature deviation, dropping well below average, maybe 8 degrees below average in some areas. Really quite chilly. Again, it doesn't look that bad. Again, it doesn't even look at that bad of a northerly wind, but it's because the air to our north is getting so much colder by the day before it peaks around January time. So even though this northerly wind here doesn't look quite as severe as the northerly wind we're going to be seeing in a day or two, this right into the first third of October could be even colder. So yeah, we've got to keep an eye on this, with application potentially returning in the longer term. But as we'll see in the ECMWF in a minute, we could see the opposite, with a more of a southerly wind and maybe an Indian summer type pattern where temperatures maybe in the mid to high 20s. But again, both of these runs are day 10 to day 15, which is very uncertain and very unlikely to come off. But we've got to keep an eye on it. Potentially a potentially some more amplification as we head into early October. So still an unsettled flow, but more amplification, meaning those air masses could be a little bit more extreme, either on the colder or warmer ends. Now, if you look at the GEM, see how that does compare. Again, we see the northerly flow coming in at the moment, very chilly weather, and then we see a generally westerly flow, a bit of pretty much zonal, so we are around average in terms of upper air temperatures, but it probably will feel colder than average because of a lot of precipitation and cloud around. And at day 10, yes, nothing too crazy is happening, but look at that, big high pressure build up towards Iceland, that is amplification in the jet stream, and we'd actually be starting to put in a bit of a northerly flow there, but it's not particularly strong, so the air mass isn't moving in too much. And look at the temperature deviation, we're sort of on the edge from milder than average to colder than average, so generally around average for many. But the signs of amplification then at day 10 are very much apparent there. So although it doesn't pull anything off extreme at day 10, potentially in a couple of days after that, it could start to pull in a very cold northerly or easterly wind as that amplification does build in. But it is just something we need to keep an eye on. If we do have a look at the ECMWF, see how that does compare. As I said, it does go very warm at day 10. Again, we do see that northerly wind pull in, and then we generally go a westerly theme, very unsettled, potentially even quite stormy there. And then eventually at day 10, we see more amplification in the jet stream. Those low pressures diving a little bit further south as in the mid-Atlantic, allows higher pressure to build further eastwards. We put up quite a warm, hot southerly wind, maybe even the 15-degree isotherm moving in. That would be even temperatures into low 30s in the middle of summer, but being early October, most likely mid-20s perhaps. Again, look at the temperature deviation, a good maybe 6 to 8 degrees, maybe even 10 degrees above average, and we look at the 2-meter temperatures and zoom into United Kingdom. You see at midday on Monday the 3rd of October, 23 degrees in East Anglia. Again, this is a low-resolution ensemble low resolution model, especially for temperatures at day 10. So it's going to be a degree or two off, and it's midday, so it's a couple hours from the peak temperatures of the day. So I wouldn't be surprised with this pattern to see 25, maybe even 26 degrees in a few localized areas. So that is very much an Indian summer type pattern. An Indian summer really is where we see, if you don't know what it is really, it's where we see summer-like conditions in middle to late autumn. Again, some people say Indian summers can happen in September, but I think September can always overlap with August quite a bit, as we saw earlier this month. But I think Indian summer really can be called in October, November, where we see a big warm push of air, sort of a summer air mass, where around 15 degrees at 850 HPA, giving temperatures around that 25 to maybe even pushing higher than that region. So potentially an Indian summer here at day 10, but at this stage it is very uncertain, and we're not seeing that from the other runs at this stage. But I'll have a look at the ensemble members now and see what they're showing. You see from the GFS ensembles today, generally below average all the way until around the 1st of August, generally quite unsettled with a lot of precipitation moving in, but you can see no huge spikes because, again, as I've said, it is mostly convection based, so it is not always going to be picked up by the ensemble members, which are low resolution too well, but there will be precipitation around, especially in the north and west, but even in the south and east towards the London area, we'll still see quite a few showers. Around the 1st of October all the way to around the 10th, you can see there is a lot of scatter. Generally, the ensemble members are around average, but there's a lot of scatter. Some going very cold, down towards 0 or below that at 850 HPA, like the GFS operational run in the longer term does, but the GFS operational run also gets above 10 degrees at 850 HPA, like a number of other ensemble members. And this is because of the amplification. Some are going very warm, Indian summer type patterns up towards 15 degrees at 850 HPA, others are dropping below freezing, potentially even getting close to -5 in the longer term, which is a good 10 degrees below average, and would be giving really cold, frosty conditions potentially. So this amplification in the longer term is giving us a lot of spread in the ensemble members, so we're just going to have to keep an eye really on what happens with that. If we do look at what the ECMWF ensemble members are showing, very similar, cold until the 1st of October, still precipitation around, and then beyond that, maybe a trend of more above average conditions with the amplification, but we are still seeing plenty of colder runs getting down towards freezing or below that at 850 HPA. Definitely a signal for a lot more unsettled, maybe milder southwesterly winds, but that could just be what this ECMWF ensemble run is going for, more southwesterly flow. Ensemble members, we'd have to wait another day or two to see a proper trend before we can say that's the more likely scenario, because the GFS definitely was a lot more split. So we just have to see what happens, but amplification in the longer term is looking likely, looking a likely scenario, but still a westerly flow, no real sort of changes. Yes, we could see a northerly flow or a southerly flow within the snaking of the jet stream, but it's still mostly coming in from the west and will be sustained. We're not seeing any massive high pressure blocking signals, no massive high pressure systems building in at all, really. So we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, it could be we could be seeing some very changeable conditions over the next week or two. And yeah, we just have to keep an eye on it. So we could be seeing times where you can potentially even get the shorts out again, but we could also be seeing times like the next few days where you can need those hat and gloves, especially if you're out late at night or early in the morning. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.